ENGWE releases a new line of bikes, the X series, which include the X20, 24, and 26, which will come in at about $1,899. The new X series line is loaded with a lot of features, including a dual battery setup and also triple suspension. The middle shock consists of a spring suspension, while the rear dual shocks are air and spring, allowing actual adjustment of them to help with preload, suspension, and more. The X24 will ride on a 24-inch tire by 4.0 inches wide on a soft all-terrain tire. The front hydraulic forks give plenty of room for travel and are also adjustable with preload and compression that allows up to 22 increments to make the compression softer or harder. The X24 will come standard with dual hydraulic disc brakes, and these will ride on vented 180mm rotors. The X24 has an 8-speed cassette, which is operated with a push of the thumb or pulling on the trigger to move the chain up and down the 8-speed cassette, which this is operated by Shimano's Tourney derailleur, which these are a little bit more entry-level components. The hub motor consists of 1000 watts continuous power or 1200 watts peak power and up to 70 Newton meters of torque, which power is provided to the hub motor utilizing the thumb throttle on the left side and even has a horn underneath to let people know that you're coming. A simplistic 5-button system will operate the display. This will toggle you around through all the settings along with changing features and also adjusting power from normal mode, sport mode, and also economy mode, and also changing the power settings from 0 all the way up to power assist number 5. There is also a button to activate the headlight, which this can be automatically controlled through settings, and also operates the tail light, which also operates as a brake light as well to let people know you're slowing down. When it comes to comfort, the seat is very thick. It's also got wide support. There's also 2 dampers underneath, which this will provide extra shock absorbing when going over bumpy roads. But when it comes to the rear cushion, this is not actually a passenger seat, as it's really just meant for gear. The X24 comes with 2 batteries. The smaller of the batteries inside the frame of the bike, which when unfolding this it will take a little practice, but this will expose the battery and you will need one of the 2 keys in order to unlock this and take out the battery, which be careful because it does just kind of slide right out when this bike is unfolded. Once the battery is removed, you can charge it within the bike or outside the bike, and this will take about 3 hours for this particular battery, and there is no way to tell the state of charge when it's outside of the bike. The main battery is also the seat post, which this actually is activated by pressing on its own separate button, which this will provide extra power to the secondary battery. This is also your seat post height adjustment, which can operate a large range of riders. And it even comes with its own lock, so you have a second key, that way this can't be stolen, but you will have to utilize the key to unlock it and make adjustments. But once it's set up for the preferred rider, then this step won't really be necessary. And with both batteries fully charged, that's over 1400 watt hours of power, which they say can give you up to 62 miles utilizing throttle only. Okay, so the test ride starts, and I'm going to be taking a little bit of camera gear with me, so it's going to be about 200 pounds, and that 62 miles that this bike is able to do is under controlled conditions usually, and with a rider that's about probably 140 to 145 pounds. That's normally what you see in the manual as far as how they tested it to get that range. Okay, this is to check the stock gearing to see how it is with no battery assist. I'm in the lowest gear, riding on flat ground. I made sure I aired up the tires properly at 20 psi max is what it says, and I can tell right off this bike is heavy. Okay, starting in the lowest gear and now starting to go up the hill. I definitely need another gear. I don't think I'm gonna make it at all. This is heavy. And nope. Okay, so yeah, a different gear setting for sure is going to be needed because 8 speeds is not enough for this really heavy bike. So if you had to pedal this because the batteries were dead, that would definitely cause an issue because you would be working. Okay, we'll turn on the bike and then we're going to go ahead and reset everything. That way we can get our mileage from when we start to see how far we can go. Hit the trip distance, reset everything. And now we should be good. Go back. Okay, now we can start our ride with everything at 0. And there we go. So on we go. Now when it comes to off-road or dirt trails, it does okay, but this bike mainly is for commuting. It does great when cruising across the streets and taking you around to see the sights, or even if you're a delivery or commuting, this is where the bike is going to shine. I did put it through some paces, going through S-bends, up and down hills at speed, and you can tell the weight is there. Okay, we're going to go up this hill. This is kind of known as Heart Attack Hill because it's such a long and steep incline. By the time you get to the top of it, you really feel like you're going to have a heart attack. So we'll see how the bike does with pedal assist and giving it full throttle. This bike doesn't have a whole lot of torque as far as this hub motor, so we'll see how it does. And the actual name of this is Heart Rate Hill, but most of us call it Heart Attack because, well, by the time you're at the top, that's kind of what it feels like. Okay, this is throttle only, no pedaling. And this is not the steepest part of the hill. It will start to get steeper here after a couple corners, but no pedaling. And so far doing pretty good. And around this turn, this is where it now starts to get a little steeper. But I'm just gonna hold the throttle and see what it does. About 9-10 miles an hour. All right, we'll pedal a little bit now. All right, and this is just about the top. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. I had to help it a little bit up some of the steepest inclines, but overall it did pretty good. That is one thing with this bike being pretty heavy, is that a higher torque motor might be a little bit beneficial. Even though it's 1200 watt, this one doesn't have quite as much torque, so you are gonna have to help it a little bit more on the hills versus some of the other ones. You can literally just press a button, it'll fly you right up. Okay, so that's about it for the first battery. I ended up using this battery first, and I haven't even turned on the seat post battery, and that got me 14.5 miles going back and forth between normal and sport mode, which sport mode only stays on for about 3 minutes, and then it automatically defaults back to normal. That way it doesn't overheat while the battery and the hub motor, so it'll actually kick back off. And then about 3 minutes later, supposedly, you can turn it back on. So that's how far I've gone anyway so far with mainly staying in this mode. But we're going to go ahead and turn on this battery. Like so. And now we should start seeing this jump right up. Look at that. So that'll just start climbing. It'll take a couple minutes, but that should be, I don't know, probably up to about 80% here pretty soon. And so now you can see that's all the way back up to 100% just by turning the battery on. So kind of cool because you have an extra battery, and I don't know what happens. I think both of them will drain simultaneously if you have the seat post battery on. So if you wanted to have one on reserve and not really use it so much, you could just leave one on. Okay, max speed test. This is 5 and normal. And also GPS, throttle only, no pedaling. 27 miles an hour there, 27 there. So pretty accurate. Okay, now in sport mode. 29 there, 29 there. So pretty accurate as far as the speedometer. And this is throttle only, I'm not pedaling at all. Nice flat road, little bit of wind. Moving along just fine. This thing goes pretty good. Okay, now when it comes to the ergonomics of the bike and also me just pedaling, this thing is pretty easy to ride. No hands and pedal assist number 5 in normal, and I can easily ride 25 miles an hour and I'm hardly stressing at all. This is very easy to maintain this speed with this bigger, heavier bike, and it's just cruising along just fine. Okay, so that's a complete ride. The battery went all the way to 0 a couple times. I tried to deplete it all the way, and it would actually start to go up a little bit if you stop. But if you look there, we got 44.2 miles, and the battery did come back up to about 5%. Now, overall, the bike did a pretty darn good job considering the conditions today on this test ride. If you guys saw the conditions, up and down a lot of hills. You're also talking high heat today. It was 95 degrees when I started at least, and it's still about 90 degrees right now, so heat just robs power. Now for the goods on this bike, overall the seat is nice. I don't think if you were doing a short ride, you wouldn't need any bike shorts. You know, I did the full ride. I'm kind of glad that I did have them. Overall, the bars are pretty comfortable. I wouldn't mind a little bit of adjustment. Overall, the suspension is good, especially for my weight. You could even soften it up a little bit if you like. Now, when it comes to the cons on this bike, the gearing definitely needs another low gear and another high gear, because when you are on hills, you definitely have to help it a lot, and it'd be nice to have one more lower gear on the very steep inclines. Now, when it comes to the motor on this bike, I think it'd be nice to have a little bit more torque. This isn't quite enough at 70, so maybe 85 or higher would be kind of nice, because again, this bike is really heavy, and even with the brakes would benefit from a larger rotor. When you're getting into a bike this heavy and you throw a 185 to a 200 pound rider on here and you're going down some steep hills, you will notice it. But overall, I mean, it rides comfy. It's a pretty nice bike. I actually enjoyed riding it the whole time, and with the extra battery, you can go a really long way. So overall, I like it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I hope to see you guys next time.